If money were no object, would you stay in your current job? If you have no mortgage, no car payment, no credit card debt, and maybe a little bit of savings, would you stay in your job? What was your gut reaction to that question? Is it worlds apart from what you do now? If you're in your 50s or older, you may be hanging on or sticking it out at a job waiting for a magical age when you think you can retire. What if you were unexpectedly laid off? Your job no longer existed and you have to make a decision. Do you look for a job with the same title, or do you do something you've always dreamed of doing but were afraid to take that step? I was in my mid 50s when I made a physical move out of state. I was in a job that I really didn't like. I moved up the ladder to a leadership position. One would think that's a good thing, but for me, not so much. It felt like babysitting. My boss was a micromanager. I felt like I was being watched with everything I did. Thankfully, 6 months into that job, a previous manager offered me a job on his team, but it meant my hubby and I needed to move to California. We had to have a serious discussion about it because moving is my least favorite thing to do on earth. But for a job I knew I loved and a new start for my hubby who didn't like the long drive he had to and from his office, we packed up the house and the dog and moved to California. Knowing the cost of living higher in California, we rented out our house and rented in California. We had a small house with a beautiful yard for the dog. Both of us spent a lot of time in our commutes to and from work. I rounded 5 hospitals. He had an hour drive each way to the office, but we loved our jobs. But as the years went on, we realized that the cost of living expenses outweighed the beautiful scenery, the ocean views, the vineyards, the farm fields. So we looked for a way to get back to Arizona. Unfortunately for me, there was nothing available for me to move laterally. At the time, I searched for job titles with comparable positions. Instead of reevaluating my situation and what I wanted to do in my next chapter, I found a remote position for a different hospital network. I realized on the very first day that the job I thought I interviewed for was being performed by a teammate. Within minutes, I realized I was in a position that I had done 15 years earlier. Imagine my surprise. It was the classic case of bait and switch. The job description was vague, and I made the mistake of not asking what my day-to-day tasks would be during my interview. I was fearful that I wouldn't remember what I did 15 years earlier. And I'm not one to quit immediately when faced with adversity, so I pulled out my old training manuals and notes and got to it. Luckily, I kept those notes all those years. And I don't know about you, but I didn't want to do a job I did 15 years earlier. I moved up the ladder for a reason, and to do those same tasks weren't my favorite. I stuck it out for 8 months before finding another position on another team. That position was even worse. It was more stressful than the first. I was given tasks of 2 people who left the team previously, and a 12-hour day filled with mandatory meetings. I was so frustrated with my job, stressed to the max, and really, I wasn't a fun person to be around when I wasn't working. At about 9 months in, my hubby walked through the kitchen and I had a light bulb moment when he asked why I didn't just shut my laptop. I realized after I explained the job to him that I didn't even like my job. I don't even know why I was doing the job. But I had to be real with myself, though, and ask, what do I really want to do next? Keep in mind, I was a few months away from turning 60 years old. The fear of looking for another job, interviewing again with ageism in the workplace, and the stress of learning something new inspired me to retire. Yep, I went to a financial advisor, which I highly recommend. Review the assets you have. I gave him my plan to die with $1 in my pocket and not worry about a legacy because I had no children. And I walked out of that appointment feeling much better about my decision to retire. Note, You don't have to have $1 million in savings or assets to retire early. You just have to be able to live within your means for however long that might be. Yes, it takes planning. That's what financial advisors are for. Now, maybe you can't retire or you don't want to quit your job, or maybe you don't want to quit working. Please choose work that you feel valued at, you have a sense of purpose, something that engages your brain, your social connection with others, and your interests. Don't hang on to a job. Find what fulfills your soul, not just your wallet. What would you do if money were no object? Remember to like and subscribe for more tips on retiring early and easy career transitions.